I want to talk about a concept that I learned in a 12-step program. And I specifically want to talk about how this one step and the principles behind it and the application of it has diminished my anxiety. I was always an anxious person. Anxious. I don't remember being anxious as a child, but I had some childhood trauma, and I remember anxiety from then on. And I worried about everything. I tried to control stuff that wasn't mine to control, which is an anxiety-producing behavior. And, that hypervigilant of waiting for the next shoe to drop, or what were they going to do, or and this was a lot around finances mainly, but it was also time management. If I had a busy week, I'd worry about how am I going to get that done and that done and that done, and just worry till where it became habitual. It was a habit. It was comfortable for me to be in that heightened state because I lived in survival mode. Well, the third step says, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. Well, I was afraid to do that. And the reason why is because I wanted what I wanted. I wanted the outcome to be what I wanted it to be. And this principle in this step allows me to release the outcome. Because every time I'm trying to control something and have that anxiety and that feeling in my gut, I'm trying to control something. And if I'm trying to control something, I'm afraid. And most fears are rooted in two fears. I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm going to lose what I have. And that has been so true for me. But in the concept of turning my will and my life, which is my thoughts and my actions, that's the only thing I can control. Can't control the other person, but to let go of the outcome. And I'm certainly, this is something I've had to work on right now, right here in my life. As I've talked about a little bit, my husband's currently in treatment for his mental health, and I have this time to work on myself. So I've written a lot of stuff, and I realize, I'm afraid that if things don't get better, we're going to end up being divorced or losing everything we have. Our home, some of our vehicles, we'll have to file bankruptcy. That's where I take all that in my head. And when I decide to turn my will and my life over to the care of God, I let go of the outcome. What if that's God's will for my life, and no matter what I do, I cannot keep that from happening? Or don't do. And, and when I say, so be it, God, if that's your will, it removes the fear of that. I stop wanting to try to control. And I've certainly, I've been retired almost 3 years. I've had this YouTube channel almost 3 years. And there's been a lot of learning that I have to let go of the outcome. And it's not that you stop wanting what you want. It's that I don't have any control of how that's going to work out. I always heard, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. Because God has a bigger, more divine plan for my life. And often those things that I conjure up in my head don't ever happen anyway. And so I really, been doing some work with sponsor, and we've been in the steps, and I've had to be reminded of what I'm powerless over. And that's pretty much people, places, things, and situations. But I'm not powerless over my thoughts, my actions, and my behavior. And so that's what I have to check. And she asked me, I was saying that, I want things to be different when he comes home. And I wonder what he's going to do different. And she said, well, she made me an assignment. She wants me to write about what am I going to do different? How am I going to be different? And that's what she wants me to work on. And so that's some more inventory and writing and reading and searching of what are the behaviors that I have done that are unhealthy, and then what behaviors would be healthy, and then make a plan and then stick to that plan. And that's what I feel like is God's will for my life today. When I want what I want and I want the outcome I want, I'm in self-will. I'm not considering what divine direction I need to go. And so I have to stay grounded in that every day in the mornings. I turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And then I pray for the knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. For me, not him, not them, not my job. I wanted to work from home, be retired and work from home. I know myself well enough to know that I need to do some work because I'm not as happy or productive or all of those things if I'm not doing something. And so I wanted to work from home and do some telehealth, and that didn't work out like what I thought. And so I started working 2 days a week in a counseling center. And apparently that I had to be willing. I have to be willing to do that. Also know that if that doesn't work, you do something else and you pray about it and you seek conscious contact with God to know what it is that I need to do. I pray for divine inspiration every single day, and I thank Him for my the mercy He has. And I also know that I'm anointed because I'm His child, and that those things keep me grounded, and that keeps my anxiety at bay. I'm not saying I'm not ever anxious. I certainly had a couple of very anxiety-producing things happened this year for me that I can get off into the anxiety, and when I do, it's really hard to get back into that. But this third step made a decision to turn my will, my life over to the care of God. And that care of God, well, what's God going to do with me? And I can remember early in recovery, and I was kind of meditating on this step. And I had this dog. She loved those little chew things. And I would give her one, and she would pounce on it. And she carried it everywhere. She carried it outside, and she went to the bathroom. She carried it everywhere. And I went to pet her or something, and she growled at me because she thought I was going to take that away from her. And I looked at her and I thought, isn't that the way I am with God? He gives me good things, and I hoard it and protect it and be hyper vigilant about trying to control keeping that one thing. And I looked at that dog and I said, why are you afraid I'll take it away from you? I'm the one that gave you the chew bone. And it was a aha moment for me, because I think that's the way I am with God. He gives me all this good stuff, and then I waste my time worrying that I'm going to lose it. It's on loan anyway. I'm just a steward of everything I have. And if I can stay in gratitude, you ever had an ungrateful child? And they keep asking you for the toy at Walmart when they're not grateful for the toys they have at home? That's the way I am with God. If I'm not grateful for what I already have and content with that, why would I expect to get more? So I stay in the frequency of gratitude and abundance so that I can receive more gratitude and abundance. It's a great place to be, living in gratitude and abundance and being content. And that goes for who you are as a person. If you're new here, welcome. And for my friends that come and support me and watch me, I'm so grateful for you. And what I do here is I talk about personal development. And everyone asks me, entreaty, what does that mean? And it means to call upon another with urging comfort and care. And that's what my channel's about. And that's what I do. Remember, be you on purpose.